Good evening. My name is Steve. Good evening. My name is Steve Jones. I'm a sheriff candidate for Wilkes County Sheriff Office. Wilkes County Sheriff, and it's a pleasure of being here. I was in the military in 2000. I got out in 2000. I was in the military for 4 years. National Guard for 3 years. I ended up here in Wilkes County. I've been here for 24 years. I work for the Sheriff Office and the Police Department. We didn't have all this crime going on. Now it's time to tackle this crime. It's one thing about me, I do it from the heart. I'm up here talking because I'm doing it from the heart. I'm not doing it, I'm not writing nothing down. It's time to get out here and be proactive in this community with these kids. I mean, it's very important. Your kids should be able to go to the store and not worry about being, harassed. You shouldn't be having to worry about your child you hearing the sirens, that's your child. And that's why we're here. It's time for a change, and I'm the change. One thing about it, I didn't just start here. I've been here for 24 years. I worked here. I coached here. I coached Parks and Rec. I gave it my all. It feels so good when I go to the high schools and to the middle schools and I see the kids. I go there and they come up to me and hug me and say, hey, how you doing? Man, that feels good. It's time for a change. And I'm the change. I'm not just doing this for a paycheck. I'm not just doing this because I want the power. I'm doing this because my heart is here. My kids, my family, my wife is from here. My family went to school here. My daughter, she's a cheerleader. I need to go and pick her up, matter of fact. And my son is in the band. He's in the 7th grade. I'm just letting you know, I'm not just doing this for power. I'm doing this for heart. Because it's time for a change and get Washington back on track. Well, we have problems with people moving here. The violence done went up. In order to get that violence down, our police, our sheriff department have to be proactive. Like we did when I was with the police department and the sheriff department. We cared. I got pictures of me, I got letters at home now. Big envelope with kids. They grown now, 30 years old. But I've been over there to the school talking to them. So it's time. I'm your change.
Daryl, you are up next.
Good evening, everybody. I appreciate the Chamber of Commerce putting all this together for us this evening and giving us the opportunity to speak. In case you didn't know, I met probably most everybody here. If you had never met me before, my name is Daryl Powers. I am running for sheriff here in Wilkes County. Kind of give you a background of my history, my work history, who I am. I went into public safety in 1994. I was a firefighter. Then I went to work got my certification as a firefighter at EMT. Then in 1996, I went to work at Greene County Sheriff's Office. Started to work as a jailer there. Since that time, I have worked in nearly every position within a functioning and successful sheriff's office. In that position, and through the years, I made it all the way up to the rank of major, where I was part of the command staff that included budgeting, working with the manpower, scheduling. The biggest thing was in all that would be the budgeting process of it all. Being able to take care of the department and the finances and knowing where it all went. Through those times, we had to deal with the gang problems, the drug problems, all of those things that we face right here in this community today. A few years back, we started seeing the crime increase here. And I kept looking at my wife, telling her, I said, somebody needs to do something, somebody needs to do something. And I got up one morning, was getting ready to go to work, and I looked in the mirror and somebody was staring back at me in the mirror. And that somebody was me. And whenever I looked, and I kind of put it aside a little bit, and I thought I could get rid of the feeling. And I couldn't shake it. So I went to my wife and I said, look, I need to talk to you about something. I said, we've got a problem. And our problem is our young people in our community. And I said, I'm going to run for sheriff. And the first thing she did, she looked at me and she said, have you lost your mind? And I said, no. I said, this is something I'm not going to talk about right now. I said, what I want you to do is I want you to pray about it. And I said, we'll talk about it in another month or so. So we both sat down. We took about a month, and we both prayed about it, and we both got a peace that this is where we're supposed to be. Now, with all that in mind, I stand before you today just to let you know why I'm here and why my wife is here. We made this decision together as a family. She's born and raised right here in this community. Although I wasn't born and raised here, this is home. This is my forever home, and this is where I will lay my head down to rest for eternity.
Since you're running to be the lead law enforcement officer in our county, please share with us your management and leadership experience of a large number of employees or teams.
My leadership experience, we came from the military.
Switch it.
My leadership experience came from the military. I was in the Army, I was military police. I was a specialist, but I was over some troops, soldiers. I've been to Korea just to see the difference in Korea, the different, ways people live, managing our troops. And then I came here and I learned how to be a leader out here in the society and at Wilkes. I trained under a lot of people, Mike Davis. Oh man, he was the best. And I became a leader. I ended up in McDuffie Board of Education. I ended up as a captain. And the department wasn't that big, but I was a great leader.
Mr. Powers?
Team on the interstate, the evidence room, as well as, our gang task force and drug task force. So it amounted to quite a few people, quite a diverse group of people, as well as several different divisions with different operational goals in mind. Prior to that, I was captain over an investigative division, which really wasn't that big for me. In Dollar County, I was captain over myself. So I guess you got to be self-motivated in that position. But prior to that, in Greene County, I was lieutenant over the ICE team. At that time, we had 6 canines. So we had the maintenance and keeping up with those dogs. And I believe Scott Smith was one of the canine handlers at that time as well.
Systems look like?
Ooh, that's a good question. The school systems, as we know it, you're there at their invitation.
The other one in Dietrich's hand, and
So,
just pass it off.
obviously they've given us 2 position school resource officer position in the insurance program that they're paying for, and they're providing the patrol vehicles for. We would, as a sheriff's office as a whole, would be involved in the training for, active shooting scenarios and situations. To include, we would make sure that the school resource officers had everything they needed, all of the training that was necessary to handle those calls if they were to ever arise, as well as our patrol deputies, to make sure they understood every aspect of what was going on with it, to include involving all of our emergency services and our public safety personnel here in the county, EMS, fire, to make sure we were all on the same page in the event that we do have any type of situation like that.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, sir. Okay.
My goal in the school system. That's what I did. I was a resource officer, a captain, and McDuffie Board of Education. And what we did, we had for active shooter. I want to do it where during the summer we would get together and with all the different emergency agencies, and we'll do a scenario, and we'll go in like it's a real life situation, and we'll train. And that's all about it. It's about training, keeping these kids safe. On if an active shooter is in the school, what would we do? All right? And not just that. My goal is, we have resource officers in the school system now. We have one resource officer at this present time now. My goal is to get, at least, we will need at least about 3 resource officers. All right? 1 roaming the elementary schools, 1 in the middle school, and 1 in the high school. Let them be kid friendly. So these kids could come up to them and be able to talk to them about any situation. It's just time. We have to put these kids first. That's the problem. These kids in the community is causing problems, and we have to tackle that situation first.
I'm gonna let you keep the mic, and we'll give you the next question. Ms. Lisa wants to know, will you monitor traffic in the city for speeding?
Yes, we will monitor traffic in the city. That's to keep the city safe. If you have a speeder in the city, we have to monitor that. You have to slow them down because that could cause problems. We will monitor speed and crime or, dealing with traffic in the city.
Thank you, sir.
As far as monitoring traffic in the city, when the sheriff takes office, he takes office and takes an oath to provide coverage for every citizen of the county. It doesn't state that he is to provide a service to certain areas of the county based on whether they're incorporated or not incorporated. With that being said, the sheriff is required to provide those services to the city. And that is a service that a sheriff's office under my command will certainly be involved in. And even a step further, that traffic would go into to crime suppression as well. I would work with the city. I've spoken with a lot of individuals here about putting speed breakers in certain areas, and we work with the city officials here and try to coordinate with them to see if we couldn't get speed breakers in the locations where they're acceptable, and as well as patrol vehicles to make sure that we suppress the speeding issues in the community.
Thank you for that. All right, next question. Mr. Juan wants to know, do you have a plan for community-based policing? If so, how will you implement it?
Yes, a community-based policing obviously starts with trying to build that gap and that bridge between the sheriff's office and the community. The community is not going to come and extend that on to us. The sheriff's office will have to be the one that reaches out the hand and begins to build that bridge to the community. And we start building that bridge by providing services at the sheriff's office. One of the things I like to see, and I sat on the board where we had a citizens advisory board. We took citizens from the community, business members from the community. We put them on an advisory board within the sheriff's office, and they were our voice back to the community. It was our transparency so that the community could see that the sheriff's office was doing their job, and that we could take that information back to them. And as the community began to trust us and build that relationship back with the sheriff's office, then we were able to be more and more and more involved in the community.
Mr. Jones, same question.
Can you repeat it?
Can you repeat the question? Yes, sir. Do you have a plan for community-based policing, and if so, how will you implement it?
Let's have a plan. My plan is to be proactive. Have all of the officers proactive in the community. Not just trying to arrest everybody. Doing your job. Going out in the community, talking to the kids. If you see a kid out there playing basketball, stop and talk to them. If you see them walking, stop and talk to them. Show them that we are not the evil ones. We're not bad police. You know, we friends. You could come and talk with us. In order to get this crime down, we have to be proactive in this community. And we need the community to help us as law enforcement. That's the only way we're going to be able to tackle this situation. And that's my job, to get the right people in the right places. And we'll tackle this situation. Now I'm not going to be in the office. I'm going to be out in the community. I'm going to be in the schools. I'm not the one to be in office. So I would be riding around. If you have a child and you're having a problem with that child, me as the sheriff, I won't hesitate to go to your house and we'll sit down and we have a talk. That's me. I'm just coming from the heart.
Okay, I got one. What are you doing about the drug problem in Washington Wilkes public school system?
The drug problem. The drugs are coming from the outside, going in. We have to get the control of the drugs in the community first. Once we get the drugs out of the community, we could worry about the inside. My whole goal is I want to get at least 2 dogs, 2 K9s, like we had in the police department. And then we have random checks where we coordinate with the superintendent and we'll arrange for those random checks to be done. Just going through checking lockers or checking classrooms, and that's how we can get it. But the whole thing is, in order to get those drugs, you have to have a relationship with those kids. Because those kids will come and tell you if drugs are there. So that's the whole thing. I've been here for a long time. I know the kids in the community. I work with the kids in the community. And I have a relationship with the kids in the community. So it's time for us to just come as a whole and just go ahead and tackle that situation. That's the only way we're going to be able to get it done.
Thank you. Mr. Powers, you need me to repeat the question? What are we doing about the drug problem in the Washington Wilkes public school system?
The drug problem within the school system, I agree, comes from the outside and works its way in. We have to have a very aggressive approach to the drug problem, as well as the gang problem. We can't overlook it because they both run hand in hand. As a former undercover agent, and as a former task force agent, and as a former commander of the drug task force, I know exactly what it takes. Now, am I going to lay out every detail sitting here in this room as to what it takes and how we're going to do it? No, I'll never do that. But rest assured, a command under me as a sheriff will have an aggressive approach to the drug and gang problem here. Now, within the school system, obviously, we have to work with the school system. I, as a former canine handler as well, have been in and conducted multiple school searches. And every time that I've ever done a school search, it was done at the request of the school. And obviously, as a sheriff, I will be in contact with the school board and the school superintendent and will provide them with everything that they need within that school system to make sure that it is a drug-free zone and a gang-free zone, to make sure that it is a learning environment for our young people. It is a neutral ground so they can be there and understand that this is what this is for, just to learn. And it's not about gangs and it's not about drugs.
Question comes from Valente, and he would like to know, what is your vision for the youth of Washington as opposed to what is being done now?
My vision for the youth of Washington, as opposed to what is being done now. I've spoken with Family Connection, and I understand that the program that's put on during the summertime is actually the program run by the Family Connection. I've sat down and had a long talk with them. And have learned that the gymnasium is actually rented for that program. So we have, this year there was a big thing about them not having enough spaces for the kids due to whether it was money or whether it was due to the lack of supervisors and chaperones to be able to have more kids. And so with that in mind, I told her that I would be willing as a sheriff, we could get the CHAMPS program involved in it, which would provide more manpower and would provide more funding for them so that we could actually have more children in the community get involved in these programs. This is something I've been directly hands-on with prior when we started a summer camp program so that the youth was staying out of the streets during the summertime and they were staying in the office, not the office, but with the sheriff's office employees. One of the good things out of that is they get to see us as law enforcement as regular people. We wear t-shirts, short pants, tennis shoes, and we're out there interacting, we're playing games, and they get to see that we are just like they are. We're not, running around with uniforms and chasing bad people all the time. We're just regular guys and regular girls that want to have fun and spend time with the kids.
Thank you. Mr. Jones. Would you like me to repeat the question? The question is, what is your vision for the youth of Washington as opposed to what is being done now?
My vision for the youth of Washington is what I've been doing for a long time. I know what it takes. I have kids. And my vision is to make these kids safe. In order to get them safe, we have to show, we have to be involved in the community. Being in law enforcement for 28 years, 4 years military police, 4 years out here in the community, I've seen a lot of things. And in order for us to get it, we have to support these groups about the connections. And I talked to the Twin Angels. They started a program where her grandson was killed. And she wanted to do a Stop the Violence. They've been doing a Stop the Violence program. I want to do that, make that a day where we have Stop the Violence and we have speakers coming out talking to these kids in the community, telling them how bad crime, the consequences and everything crime could do. But in order to do that, we have to come together as a community. In the sheriff office, EMS, all of us have to come together and we have to tackle this together as a team.
What is your plan to make Wilkes County Sheriff's Department more financially stable?
My plan to make Wilkes County Sheriff Office financially stable. For one, we have to, in order to get good officers, the pay have to be a little better. So my goal is to do, get with surrounding counties and, come up with a pay scale to see because that's the only way we're going to be able to keep officers, good officers. If I have a young officer and I send him to the academy, promising 2 years, he might not stay. He'll probably leave and go to another agency that's going to pay his bills. So we need to tackle this budget, look at the budget, and see what we need to do to keep these officers, to keep them around. Because we need good young officers.
Thank you, sir. Same question. May I repeat the question?
Please.
The question is, what is your plan to make the Wilkes County Sheriff's Department more financially stable?
My plan for that is, obviously, a sheriff's office is not designed to generate revenue. We have traffic units, they do go out. Unfortunately, they do write citations to people sometimes, and it does generate revenue. Obviously, we have a contract with the city where the city helps with the funding of the sheriff's office. But further than that, I'll go a little bit into my plan, and it's something that I've actually had hands-on directly. We have an 80-man jail in the sheriff's office. Right now, we may have 35, maybe 40 inmates at the most. We're actually housing inmates for Greene County and Overland County. Now, with that in mind, that leaves us about 50 beds just sitting there. The air conditioner's on, the lights are on, everything's going. Now, it would cost us a little bit, but the overall financial income of this plan would actually be very, very beneficial to the county. into the general fund, what we would do is begin to house inmates. I've spoken with another sheriff's office, a couple of them actually, and they've given me a specific number that is far greater than what we're housing inmates for now. With that, it could generate revenue as much as $500,000 a year back to the general fund of the sheriff's office that will offset about half of our jail budget. Now, it costs us about $8 to $10 a day to house an inmate, and we could stand to profit as much as $50 to $60 a day. It depends on what we would contract out for those inmates. Federal inmates are paying $62 a day. Obviously, we may have to hire another person in the jail to make it happen, but the end goal would be a positive inflow of what we don't have now.
Thank you for that. And we'll let you take this one first. Share with us your plan for how you'll cover the city limits versus the county as a whole regarding patrol.
For the city limits and the county as a whole, we have to split it up in zones. And those zones are going to cover partial city, partial county. That way, and then those deputies will have to be assigned a certain zone, and they have to stay in their zone. So we can't be grouping up in certain groups, for lunch breaks and things like that. It's okay for a couple of them to meet up, but we have to maintain our zones to make sure that the city's getting its coverage and make sure that the county's getting its coverage as well. With those zones, and I'd have to, I haven't done the logistics on everything yet, but every sheriff's office I've worked at, we always had zones that we had to stay in. Another part of the problem we're having with that is the fact that the supervision right now is not to the point where these guys are being held accountable, making sure that they stay in their zones. And we need a sheriff's office that is strong on supervision to make sure that these guys are being held accountable for doing their job correctly, and they're also being held accountable, or being recognized for doing their job correctly, but also being held accountable for when they do not do their jobs correctly. And that's how you do it.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, would you like me to repeat the questions? Okay. The question was, share with us your plan for how you'll cover the city limits versus the county as a whole.
My goal, when I worked for the county in the city, we always had 3 officers in the city, maybe 4. During the daytime, we had a certain amount of officers in the city. In the county, we had 2 officers at all times. The reason why we having problems now, we don't have any supervision in the city. On the sheriff's office, the only supervision, we only have 2, and that's the head. It's time to go ahead and we're gonna get a supervision, have sergeants on each shift. And if you have sergeants on each shift, that sergeant could have his 3 in the city at night, 2 in the county. And then if you're having a problem in the county, that sergeant is responsible to tell that person to go, someone to go out there and help them. We need supervision. And that's the only way we're gonna be able to tackle this situation in the city. But majority of your crime is coming from the city, and that's always been that problem since I've been here. Majority of your crime is coming from the city. We have to tackle that situation, but in order to tackle the situation, we gotta be proactive. There's no such thing as just everybody's together, huddling together and eating or whatever, or at the gas station. No, we gotta be proactive and give these people in the city and the county what they need.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Our community has identified gun violence to be a local issue of great concern. How will you attend to this concern, especially regarding the youth?
Gun violence is very important. Matter of fact, I want to say last week it was someone shot a gun in the city. We have people dying. We gotta go out there and talk to them and talk to the youth and tell them how very important it is. And that's when I go back and say about the Stop the Violence thing, have that every year. Just to talk to the kids and show them and have someone that live that life come and talk to me. We don't have it. I told you, I'm not the one that's gonna be sitting in the office. I'm gonna be the one that's going out in the community, riding around, seeing what's going on in the community. My wife said this, she said, hey, I know you're gonna, you ain't gonna stay at home at night. I said, no, I'm gonna be out riding around, seeing what's going on. That's the only way we're gonna tackle the situation. Talk to them and tell them how very important it is about guns, not to pick up guns and use guns. But we have to be proactive about the situation.
Thank you. Same question, would you like me to repeat the question? The question is, our community has identified gun violence to be a local issue of great concern. How will you attend to this concern, especially regarding the youth?
I'm taking that as two separate questions. One of the youth involving the youth and one of the gun violence in particular. Once we get to the level of gun violence, we've gone too far. Dealing with the youth side of it, obviously we can begin some education programs within the school system that involves shams, but they need to understand there's consequences for your actions. When that bullet leaves the barrel, you can't get it back. It's wherever it lands is where it's going to land, and if it lands across the street in a child's head, then there's consequences of those things, and they need to understand it. The adults as well need to understand that there's consequences of this, and that we will prosecute you all the way to the fullest extent if we catch you doing these things. Now, there's nothing wrong with owning guns. I own guns, a lot of us own guns, and I'll always own guns. But we need to make sure that we use them properly. And, when you start doing random drive-by shootings or just, firing off rounds in the air and doing these things, then you're not using those weapons properly. And they need to be prosecuted for those things. And in my career, I have done those very things that involve gang members. Once you identify them as being gang members, they take them to a different level in the court system. They'll even take them to a special level in the federal court system. And I'm referring to that as far as our adults that have graduated from being young people using guns to adults using guns. But back to the children. With the children, obviously if they have gotten up in their late teen years, a lot of times we're going to have to deal with them according to the law. But an educational program within the school system that could teach them and as to the proper use of weapons is certainly a good thing.
The next question. With the way our world is today, with so many public acts of violence and mass casualties, can you help us understand your plans for keeping our public events safe and violence-free?
That's a great question. I've outlined in the past, if anybody follows me on Facebook, we've utilized reserve deputies, part-time deputies, and then our regular patrol deputies. The reserve deputies, it'll go back to the finance part of the sheriff's office. The reserve deputies hold the same status as any other deputy within the sheriff's office. They're sworn, they carry a weapon, they wear a badge, they wear the same uniform that any higher paid employee in the sheriff's office. The difference is they don't get a paycheck. Part of their pay is to be allowed to have training at the sheriff's office and go to training so that they can maintain their certification. I would utilize those men and women to make them and have them at events such as football games, have them at events on the square, have them at events at Mule Day, all of those events, and make them have just as many there as we could possibly do, and being able to identify them. Now, not just having them there, but have them readily identified as law enforcement. No t-shirts walking around, everybody in the same uniform, in a uniform, so that whenever everybody looks up and says, hey, that's the sheriff's office right there. And have them posted up everywhere, not just on the corners, but have them walking through the crowd as well.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, would you like me to repeat the question? The question is, with the way that our world is today, with so many public acts of violence and mass casualties, can you help us understand your plans for keeping our public events safe and violence-free?
Yes. When I worked in McDuffie, Board of Education Police Department. We had, during football games, always, I was in charge of scheduling how I have a picture of a schedule, of a stadium. And during that stadium, I would put each officer in each spot. If you have an officer in each spot, that would reduce the crime there because they'll see an officer there, so therefore they won't cause any problems, they won't fight. But when they all group together in one spot, they'll go to the other side and have a fight. So our goal is to attack the situation that way, is be proactive and put them in different areas so the you won't have any crime there, because with officers' presence is a very important thing. When an officer is present, they don't want to be, the crime will go down because they know that they will get in trouble. So that's the whole goal, is for Washington, for our officers to be present at all times.
Next question. To touch on a timely topic, can you share with us what you feel like we need to work on locally prior to the next big natural disaster to be more prepared?
This was a headbanger here. It was hard. The hurricane hit us hard, but we pulled through. My goal is to have the sheriff department be visible and help pass out water and help, be seen. This was a time. We went through it. We had to get a generator. I didn't want to get one, but we got one. And that was very important. Just yesterday, I was out in the county passing out water to a man that can't get disability. And he didn't have any power, nothing. So I took him water and ice. That's what we need to do as the sheriff office. We got to show these people that we care. Help. We have to help.
Thank you. The question was, to touch on a timely topic, can you share with us what you feel like we need to work on locally prior to the next big natural disaster to be more prepared?
As something that, to prepare for something like that, all of the deputies need to understand this. As part of your take-on car policy, you are subject to be called in at any given time. It is a perk to be able to take that car home. It's much better to have them in various places throughout the county versus having them piled up in one pile at the sheriff's office, because if the storm would have hit there, we'd have lost every patrol car we had. So it is a good perk to have, but they do need to understand that when natural disasters hit, you're coming to work, and you're going to be here for a long, long time. And in addition to that, I think that we should be working with the county commissioners and go ahead and get this done so that we can start and have curfews put in place, so that we don't have those gunshots ringing out through the middle of the night, and make that a very, very strict curfew to make sure that the people are at home in their houses to prevent the shots, prevent the looting, prevent anything that could be going on in the community that's not work related.
Control issue. Do you feel comfortable with the sheriff's department continuing to act as animal control?
It's something I have experience with. I certainly am, and I'll tell you, I'll take it a step further than that. Our inmate work detail has dwindled to absolutely nothing. I feel that we should have somebody within the sheriff's office that works in an inmate work detail, and especially on weekends whenever the people are away from the animal shelter. These inmates should be going up there keeping kennels clean, keeping the yards cut, and assisting in any way they can. And this is to take place even during the week and the work hours. You accomplish a couple of different things by this. One, you're going to be able to cut the budget or they probably don't need any more budget cuts. They've had plenty of budget cuts as it is, but it's going to help them move that money somewhere else that can help that animal shelter out. It also gives the inmate an opportunity to be out there interactive. A lot of them are animal friendly. It gives them some time to be out as well. You know, I'm not so cold-hearted to think that just because you're locked up in jail, you're not a good person, because I know better than that. I've been doing this since 1996, and I know what it does for inmates to be able to get out and have some interaction with people and animals as well.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, the question is, what is your opinion on our local animal control issue? Do you feel comfortable with the Sheriff's Department continuing to act as animal control?
No, I do not. I think we have enough on our plate. I think we have to be more involved in the community. If we're involved in a dog out there, that's not good. We need to support the animal control. Back then we had Hemp. Hemp worked for the animal control. He was with us too, but he worked for the animal control basically. And he would go and handle all those dogs, and that's what we need. We need to support the animal control and get someone that just based on just getting the dogs. We have enough on our plate with the sheriff's office. We have to get the community on track. So to do that with the animal control, no, we need an animal control officer. That's what we need.
Thank you. Last question is, which specialized trainings for officers do you see as most important for Wilkes County in 2024 and beyond?
Specialized training, man. I want to send these officers to all kinds of trainings. You know, resource officers, the resource officer school. That's very important. They're talking a lot. I think that we need to have training with EMS and all four first responders. We need to have training. We need to have CPR training. We need to have active shooter, because if you have an active shooter, all of us have to be on the same page. And that's how we did in Delta County. We was all on the same page. You know, we know what stations to go to. We know what to do. So in order for us to be a successful sheriff department, we have to have training. And we have to be able to send these officers to different training, supervisor trainings. You know, we have to have them. We have to send them.
Thank you. Mr. Powers, the final question was, which specialized trainings for officers do you see as most important for Wilkes County in 2024 and beyond?
As a sheriff, your highest liability that you're going to face is going to be the jail. Right now, we've got jailers working inside the jail that are not even certified. You have a certain amount of time frame before you're to be certified as a jailer, and we have men and women in there that have not been certified yet. And that is our highest level of liability, is that jail. The next highest level of liability that we're going to face are our patrol deputies on the road, our driver trainer. We currently have an excess of a $50 million lawsuit on our hands because of an accident that resulted from one of our deputies causing a wreck. Specifically, driver training is going to be one of those. The other part of it is not just active shooter, but actual just training, just shooting in the scenarios that you're going to live in and work in every day. Case laws have said that if you sit there and shoot at a target over and over and over again, and then you go out and make an active shot with a perpetrator running across, that's not the same scenario that you were training in. And if you're not training the way that you work, then you're not being covered by that training. So we have to train the way we work. And if one of those bullets strays and hits a person, then that bullet, what I said a little while ago about the young people, when the bullet leaves the barrel, they ain't no going to get it back. And you just got one of the highest liabilities that you'll ever face. So we have to train the way we work, whether it's in a jail, whether it's in investigations, whether it's in narcotics, whether it's patrol deputies. We have to be specific to our job.
Thank you. We appreciate y'all's participation. At this time, we're going to start the closing statements. If you'd like to go first and give us your closing statement.
I'd like to say thank you all for your time and attention tonight. I hope I've earned your vote. But if you have more questions, I'm happy to stick around and answer them. In fact, if you have one of my door hangers, you already have my personal cell phone number, which is one of the things that I've campaigned on ever since I started, is making sure that everybody knew how to get in touch with me, being available and being seen. The people of Wilkes County deserve a sheriff that they can see in their community who will be available and will be involved. I didn't always plan to run for sheriff, but the rise in crime, especially involving our children, backed me into a corner. When kids in our small town are getting shot in drive-by shootings, that's the kind of crime you expect in a big city, not our small town of Wilkes County. I talked about it with my family. My wife told me, "You've lost your mind." But we prayed about it and we found peace, and I knew this is something I could fix. And if I'm given the chance, I'm going to fix it. I built my career on a never say die attitude. Where others see dead ends, I see a path. That work ethic comes from my dad, who's both a preacher and a builder. In our house, there were no days off, and that's the same determination I bring to serving and protecting Wilkes County. I want to build a sheriff's office that's transparent, engaged with the community, and always working to make our streets safer for our children. I'm not just a law enforcement officer. I'm a father, a husband, a business owner, and a member of this community. Wilkes County is our forever home, and I want to make sure it's a safe place for all our families, especially our kids. We need to reduce crime, crack down on gangs, and create opportunities that empower our youth to thrive. If you'd like to learn more about my vision for Wilkes County or the work I've done over the years, I invite you to visit my website at darylpowersforsheriff.com.